We're looking at a trench that has been open for the second year now. This is the trench we began PETUARIA ReVisited with in 2020. Because a Roman town is such a complex beast, we take it down slowly, we peel back the layers to reveal what's gone before, and I think currently we're about halfway into it. So if we ever wanted to get to the bottom, we will have to come back for a further season. But what we're looking at is sequence upon sequence of walls, floors and surfaces. So we're looking here, although it's not particularly obvious, at a row of rooms which potentially are part of a courtyard building, a room in front of us, and then the surface of the courtyard out there, multiple surfaces. We have a very solid surface here, another solid surface here, which at one point would have gone all the way across. But I believe that this was the way that they were walking through the courtyard, so walking or driving their cart, and because of that it's all worn away in this particular location. They did resurface it multiple times, but at this particular stage it was worn, and so that's what we have in front of us here.
Basically, I got to 30 and I thought it would probably be quite a good job, quite a good idea to actually have a career. So I did a couple of evening courses in various things, psychology, archaeology, creative writing actually, and really enjoyed the archaeology, had an interest in archaeology as a child, and decided to apply to uni to come and do archaeology. I applied to 3 unis. York asked me to come for an interview and I got into York, so I moved up here. And then I started working in commercial archaeology in around 2014, through word of mouth, knowing, sort of doing some voluntary work, and yeah, I basically met James, who's one of the site directors here. And I've known him for a while, and because I'm looking to move more from commercial archaeology into the community side of things, he suggested I come here, and this is how I'm here.
I'm a Roman pottery specialist. I'm also ex-TA, so I've been working with Dermot on the Veterans Archaeology projects for some years, and he invited me to come up because he needed a hand with cataloguing and analysing the Roman pottery.
The community aspect to this project is really important. It not only gave us a really great workforce who are doing really well, they're creating some absolutely amazing results. It also ties in with the identity aspect of this site. So we're trying to establish a heritage identity within Brough, within the community, to sort of give people something to think about when they think about the area. And another aspect of the community that's been really useful here is the stories that people tell, the finds that they have in their gardens, and the things they remember being on the site that they've sort of brought along, or they tell us stories about. It's been a really crucial part to this project, and as archaeology as a whole, I believe that the community side needs to be at the forefront going forward.
And around 270, the emperor in Rome goes and conquers Jerusalem.
I started out in community archaeology as a teenager. I was very lucky to have that opportunity, which meant I went through university into archaeology and continued to be involved in community archaeology projects. So when my current PhD supervisor, Peter Holken, mentioned this project, I jumped on board and was happy to help out where I could.
We've had all sorts of people of all shapes, sizes, ages, professions, non-professions, coming together to work on this project. A great percentage never having done archaeology before, never having held a trowel. And if one looks at the quality of excavation that we've got, you would never know that. That great credit also must be given to my assistant director, James Lyall, and the supervisory staff, who have gently trained people in how to do archaeology. Obviously, they're not experts. They've only been doing it for a fortnight, but certainly we've got very, very encouraging starts.
I think PETUARIA ReVisited is unique in the way that it structures itself in terms of community archaeology, because it began as an archaeological project, but it has developed into something which has 3 main aims now. One of the aims, obviously, is the archaeology, but the other way is how that would be achieved. And in order to do that, we were looking at different aspects. So we were looking at well-being of people. We wanted to involve the local community specifically. So more than 80% of the people digging, the volunteers, are from the immediate vicinity. Of those, 60% had never dug before, so this is their first experience of archaeology. How we achieve that is we have a number of members of experienced staff which watch over them, but the volunteers are the ones doing the digging. And if the volunteers find something, then they dig it. We don't jump in and take over. We have here a mixture of 3 different volunteers. We have very experienced, mostly experienced, and just started a couple of weeks ago, but everyone gets a chance to do the same thing here. There's no hierarchy apart from when I tell them to do something.
So just Lucy being lazy, leaving
Just needing a little rest. Some can be a blessing, but it's also a curse.
They're very, very different beasts. Commercial is very much, as you know, it's sort of ahead of development. It's very much a lot of time constraint. You don't have the opportunity to, it's not fair to say you don't have the opportunity to really investigate things, but as a digger you dig things and you never find out what happens with them, because you basically dig it, do the archive, then it goes back to other people, and it's quite rare that you get to see the reports. With this, you're working with people. It's a lot slower process. But you're also passing on information and knowledge, and you get the opportunity to get new perspectives on archaeology from people who are sort of interested but don't have the academic background or the commercial background. So it just gives you a lot of different perspectives. And the other thing about commercial is you go in and do the job, and as I say, you're out again, whereas with this, the community becomes involved in it. You don't have that community involvement with commercial because you don't get the chance for volunteers to come in.
As the pottery comes in, if they have a piece that looks unusual, they call me in to identify it. I'll look at the shape, I'll look at the decoration, I'll look at how it's made, and that will give them an idea of what the date is of what they're digging. Other than that, it comes on the finds trays here, we'll clean it, and then it will be catalogued by a reference collection, weighed, put into bags, and then sent off for further analysis.
I'm making sure that when the finds come out of the ground that they are dealt with properly and catalogued properly. So I'm overseeing how the pottery is being washed, how the metal finds are being looked after, making sure everything goes onto our databases on our computers so that we have an excellent straight archive ready to be analysed for the report writing. I really enjoy it because it's really nice to be able to engage with people that haven't worked in archaeology before. It's really nice to see people enjoying themselves, investigating things different, and just basically opening up this new world to them. It's a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere to an extent. The main one that came out yesterday, day before yesterday, time flies when we're having fun, is this very rare in terms of coming from an archaeological site, fob or dangler, which is an item that actually has an Iron Age ancestry rather than a Roman ancestry. So although date on this is difficult, it can be no later than 200 AD, and it's an absolutely fabulous in context find for what we have. But from one extreme to the other, we've got this old metal ruler which came out of our most recent trench BD. The wonderful thing about it is it's Rabone and Sons. We've actually managed to identify the maker, and because we've managed to identify the maker, we also know that these were out of production by 1953. Now, it was in the top of what we think is a robber trench, and so we think it might be a ruler from Corder's team, which is just an amazing kind of insight into the previous excavations that have been here on site and wholly unexpected. So it's the archaeology of the modern which can still tell us as much as the archaeology of the deep past.
And the archaeology of archaeology.
Yeah, exactly. It's something you don't often get a very an insight into, so it's been really nice to have that here.
Archaeology is the work of anyone, really. It's obviously you benefit from learning about it, you benefit from studying it and working in it, but the sheer work of archaeology is something that most people can do, and as we've proved at this dig, anyone from any age range can do. We've had children, we've had older people. anyone can dig and anyone can understand it really, because it is quite, this site is unfortunate and it's very complicated, but for a lot of sites it is quite easy to grasp really. And with the state of affairs as it is, it seems like getting more people involved at this level is what's going to really help the discipline as a whole.
What has also been heartening is the number of people who've come to Johnny Farley's desk. Johnny is doing a PhD on PETUARIA and aspects of community involvement in archaeology, and he's been constantly busy. He's even been asked to go to Morrison's on a Saturday to set up a table and talk to customers. Constant stream of people, lots of interest on our Facebook page, and it's clear that we have achieved our major goal of making this a community and well-being enterprise.
We located our trench here in the hope that we might intersect some of the earlier embankments and ditches of the Roman fort, which, as far as we know, although it's quite conjectural, do turn from coming from a southeasterly direction to the north and then hopefully over to the southwest. It's been quite a frustrating trench to excavate because unexpectedly we found an early 20th century culvert which occupied basically half of the area that we were working in. So we've been excavating through what has really been quite a sterile deposit, very few sherds of pottery, but some evidence of at least it is Roman pottery from the right period, and we've found a couple of very, very interesting pieces that Peter might be able to expand upon. So hopefully we're not too far now from getting some more positive evidence and hopefully nipping part of one of the ditches.
If it was left to the professionals, it wouldn't get looked at, because commercial is at the moment polluter pays, so you're only going to look at areas where people want to build houses. If you want to look at things that are scheduled or that are on greenfield sites, it really has to either be academic or community work. But the point is, it's not just about, it's about a learning experience. And if you can enthuse the local community about their heritage, then it's an ongoing legacy, if you like, project where people care about their community again. They care about their history, they care about their heritage, they care about the area they live in. If professionals did it, people would be able to stand and have a look in, but no one would be engaged in it. So it's giving people a stake in their own, in the past of the area, and and also in the future of the area and the future of how this is dealt with. Otherwise no one would ever look at it.
It's not quite that unusual. I've worked on a few similar community digs in South Wales where again we have a similar concept where you have a few professional archaeologists and again large community involvement. So it's something I'm quite used to doing, perhaps not quite on the same scale.
The thing that people really connect with is kind of the human element and the everyday items, really. They like looking at the nice things, they like looking at the coins, but if you've got a coin with a face that you can identify on it and you know the person that coin is of, or if you've got an everyday vessel, or if you've got something that's been made by hand, it can lend a more personal touch to it. And the kids really like things that look nice but also have a bit of history to them. Like we've got pots here that are almost complete, stuck back together, and that really draws their eye. And then when you can tell them we know what it was used for, we know what it's made from, we know when it's from, they really appreciate that, and their eyes sort of light up when you tell them how old things are. That's really a big benefit here. So I think you need to make it understandable and you need to make it approachable, because you can bring out your textbooks and you can talk about the fabrics and the slips and things, but if someone doesn't have a modern relation to it, a modern understanding, then they're just going to glaze over a bit. So you really need to work on giving them parallels that they can look at. And in fact, quite a big feature we've had here is the multiculturalism of the site that we're talking about, and people are really connecting with it because of the area's sort of history with with people coming in and out from Hull and nearby ports, it's been really good to see people engage with how multicultural the empire was here when they were at this point, and the networks of trade that we have going on.
It's great just to have it as a team, and a team of multiple individuals from multiple backgrounds. But yes, absolutely, and I think if there is greater connection with the extramural sides of things from universities and greater connection with communities, it can only get better. Resources from organisations like Badger, resources coming from the Council of British Archaeology that help local research groups who do it as volunteer and hobby to produce those higher quality reports. It is out there and it is getting better. And so hopefully it will continue to improve, because it's a really worthwhile experience to be facilitating.
Personally, I think that this is where archaeology is going to go. You will always have some departments, archaeological departments, and they will do their own digs, but that is very much to do with what the particular lecturers are interested in. And what they can find, and what they want to do basically for their own research purposes. Whereas with the community stuff, if people are interested in it, they can, well, basically do it themselves, get some professional archaeologists in, and as I say, it's about sort of engagement.
Archaeology only survives as people look after it and understand it. And what we've done here is show that under this very unprepossessing grassy field is people's heritage. A couple of days ago, young mother and her mother and baby walking across the field had just moved into a house opposite the excavation. They had no idea it was here. And once I guided them and said, go across to the table, talk to Johnny, have a look at the dig, they were so enthusiastic. And they've just moved into a community, and that has given them a sense of place and belonging, which I think is so important.
I think the people who live here are the people who should feel a connection to it. And this place has been here buried away. There's no brown sign pointing to PETUARIA like there is at Aldeburgh, Malton, or all the other Roman towns in East and North Yorkshire. We want to raise the profile of this, but we also want to create a legacy. We cannot create a legacy by bringing in a load of professionals. We need the local people to feel a connection to this site, and to get them digging here is doing that in a wonderful way. We have had such enthusiastic response from all of those diggers. They've all signed up for more time. They wish it was going on for longer. The legacy we create, I think, will last for a very long time, and that is the main aim, really. Digging is nice. We will answer questions, but the legacy we create is what I feel more proud of in this site.